the premium outdoor spaces that are winning. And if you don't have the budget for that, then I would look for a different market. That's been my revelation, is like, okay, if I want to win in the Joshua Tree market, I got to invest in. I lost a lot of faith in the Joshua Tree market, in the world of Airbnbs, that is. And I wanted to make a video today to kind of open up and be transparent about some of the things that I've been dealing with out there, some of the things I've been facing, thinking through, all that good stuff. Not just because I like to be transparent on the channel. I mean, I always have been, but mostly because I just want you to learn from my mistakes and hopefully walk away with a tangible action plan on something you can implement across your entire short-term rental portfolio. So today we're going to talk about my tiny house in Joshua Tree and why it failed. We're going to talk about the history that I've had out there, some of the things I've built, some of the revenue that I've had out there, some of the success. I'm going to talk about revelations I've had recently and what I'm actually going to do to fix my tiny house. And then I'm actually going to talk about who the Joshua Tree market is right for if you're wanting to invest in that market in 2024. So let's get down to the basics here and talk about where I got started and how I even cut my teeth on this market. But if you're watching this channel, it might be because you saw this video many years ago where I showcased my $165,000 Airbnb. And I often made updates about how much this property was making. And I wanted to kind of give you an update of the progression or the regression, if you will, on the revenue of this property. Now, I thought I could show you, but I oftentimes feel that, you know, telling you is one thing, but I want to show you. I want to actually show you so you can see it from my screen, okay? So we're going to hit record here. And you can see in 2021, which was the first full year that I had this property operational, my net payout was $78,225. Now, at that time, my mortgage was $800. So honestly, this was like the gravy train. This was post-COVID, travel boom, all that good stuff. And it was honestly amazing. You know, I paid down a lot of the home equity line of credit that I had for this property, and it really felt like I was on top of the world. And then the next year hit, 2022, which I'll pull up right now, and things kind of started to shift a little bit. Not anything that freaked me out, nothing like that, but I was definitely not making as much money. So let's pull up 2022, and you can see that I went from $78,224 down to $55,586. Now, at this point, my mortgage actually went from $800 to like $950, something like that, because I had what's called an escrow analysis done, and I had to pay more. So now my mortgage is roughly about $950 a month. After all my expenses, still a really, really, really great investment, still making a couple $1,000s every single month. And then we get to 2023, and you can see that I went from $55,000 to $40,862. So let's talk about this for a second. And the world's not on fire, the sky isn't falling, but I'm definitely making a lot less than I was when I started. Why is that? Well, first and foremost, certain YouTubers wouldn't stop blabbing about it on YouTube, and then everybody started buying Airbnbs there. Just kidding. I know. It was me. It was me. But I think that there's a little bit more to that story, and I want to break it down a bit. So in 2021, that was really the height of the COVID travel boom. That tiny house got featured on Levi Kelly's channel, Shelby Church's channel, a guy on TikTok, I think his name is Marquise. It got, I mean, literally got posted so many times. I mean, that house got millions of views the first time that I ever launched it. And that year, I mean, as you can see, I made $78,000, which was great. But what started happening was everybody started investing in Joshua Tree. And, you know, I don't really think it was that much because of me. I mean, I think I had an influence out there, but when people are like, you ruined it for everybody, or I'm always like, I'm flattered that you think I could have that kind of power. But I think it would have become a popular market nonetheless, because it's just one of the only travel destinations right outside of LA that's easy to build in and easy to travel to and all that good stuff. But needless to say, I had a lot of viral success. There's also my video too. So there's quite a few videos that propelled that one to the top. And the whole tiny house thing was kind of newish in the Airbnb Joshua Tree market at that time. Now there's a ton of tiny houses out there. But basically what happened was the next year, more people started entering the market, and my virality for that house, if you will, started going down. No big deal. And now we get to last year and I'm at $40,000. And I just think now we start entering this world of like saturation, if you will, or so I thought. That's kind of what I thought. Now, a little background on this house. I built this effectively for my parents to be able to retire. And so for me, you know, whether it makes $1,000 or $2,000 or $3,000 a month, it doesn't really matter because I built this cash and then I did a cash out refi. I got all my money back. And so I actually have no money invested in this house. So if I make $1, awesome. If I make $1,000, great. I have an infinite cash on cash return on this property. But that doesn't necessarily mean that I don't want to make more money, right? And so my revelation recently was, actually a couple of things. I was talking to someone recently that has about 13 properties out there. His houses are absolutely killing it. He's making $30,000 to $40,000. I wanted to show you this other property here. It's called the Mojave Villa. This is a property that one of my host campers, one of my students built, and they decided they wanted to sell it for whatever reason. So they sold it to another host camper. And I looked at his booking calendar, and this guy is killing it. Chris, salutes to you, right? This is like, I salute you, salutes to you. That doesn't make any sense. He's killing it, and he's booked out, and you can kind of look, his calendar looks pretty decent for the month of May, June, and when he launched, man, this guy was absolutely crushing it. You can kind of see here, top 1% of homes, which is a new thing that Airbnb has just released. And I was like, great. And then my business partner that I built Casa Mariposa with, he has a house out there. I think it's called the Ocotillo house, something like that. Crushing it, making over $10,000 a month. And so I started thinking like, well, what's going on here? Why are other people making money out there? And why am I not? So I started looking at the data. I've been looking at data and, hey, is this Airbnb bus thing real? Is it real in Joshua Tree out of all the places I've ever invested in? And I started looking at AirDNA and looking at other tiny houses. And what I started to notice was that tiny houses actually make, the top end tiny houses, if you sort by revenue and the good comps, they make anywhere from $72,000 to $108,000 a year, which is mind blowing because I was like, hold on, I didn't know that that was possible. So I started sifting through the comps a little bit more, and I'll show you like a really, really great competing property right here. But this house is it's a tiny house. It's actually a studio, and it's making $97,000 a year in Joshua Tree, which is kind of crazy because the house itself is pretty cute. It's got great design. But one thing that I noticed time and time again, two things. One is seclusion. Somewhat. Seclusion is important in Joshua Tree, but there are a lot of successful homes in the neighborhood, the village, right outside of the park. But really, it's amenities. And I started noticing if you have seclusion, views, and a pool, you're going to make a ton of money. But if you have a pool with views, even if you're not secluded, you'll actually do okay as well. So this property, to me, is further out than mine. It's a little bit more secluded, but I actually think that the architecture of my tiny house is better. I'll show you what mine looks like for reference. Here it is, right? You've probably seen it before. If you ever want to book it, you can go to neeksleeps.com. But this is kind of like my tiny house now. And, as revenue started to dip, I told myself I'm going to reinvest back into the backyard of my tiny house. And so I did. So I built this, a pergola with a hot tub. And when you think about it, conceptually, I kind of did the wrong thing. I was like, oh, people say you should invest in a hot tub, so I'm going to do that. And I spent, $13,000 or something on this entire setup, and it didn't really lead to more bookings, and I was sort of confused why. And then when I actually started looking at different Airbnbs out there and some of the amazing backyards, it made sense. And the reason was not because I had a hot tub or it had nothing to do with that. It's because my backyard is really, really unsexy, and I'll show you right here on the screen. This is what my backyard looks like. There's a pergola that kind of pops out, and then it's all dirt. There's nothing sexy about this at all. But when you look at some of the other amazing top performing Airbnbs in the market, you'll see, what do you see here? What do you see? Just kidding. You see an amazing backyard. Amazing backyard. Amazing backyard. Amazing backyard. Truly, absolutely amazing. And so when you really start to pinpoint who's actually owning and dominating this market, it's the people like this that are spending $100,000 on their backyard. And like I said, I've talked to people with some of these houses, and they're doing like $20,000 to $40,000 a month consistently. And then I look at that tiny house that I showed you, and it's making $97,000 a year. So it's making about $8,000 a month. So now what I've realized is I invested in the backyard amenity, box checked. But that's how I looked at it. I was like, oh, box checked. I didn't really think about the experience. And the experience of my tiny house is that you book it. It's a 300 square foot place that you cram with people. And the only place that you have to escape to is a tiny little pergola with a plastic hot tub. and there's just nothing sexy about it. Sure, it's cool. It looks cool, and it's a great photo from the front. But outside of that, it's kind of like basic, right? So that now has led me to this revelation of what I've been saying for the past year. But hey, amenities are cool, but you actually need the experience to match up to the amenities too. And so that's been my revelation is like, okay, if I want to win in the Joshua Tree market, I got to invest in backyards. And so I actually sketched this up in Google Slides. I'm not a good artist. I'm not a good drawer, if you will. And I want to show you that you actually don't have to be, because this is what I drew. And I actually sent it to someone on Fiverr. And for $40, here's what they gave me. I mean, I have not ever been more impressed with the Fiverr purchase than what I'm about to show you, because this is what I got for 50 bucks. Let me show you here. All right, so I sent them what you see here, this little sketch or this, whatever, this thing in Google Slides. And I said, all right, here's 50 bucks. Can you turn it into real life? And that's exactly what they did. Check it out. I mean, it looks amazing. And now I'm like, okay, well, now I can see how my property could make more money. Contacted my buddy who's making really, really great money out there. And he was basically like, that's $100,000 a year property. That's what you're missing. You have a little janky little hot tub pergola set up, but this is what you need if you want to win in the Joshua Tree market. So on top of that, I didn't just get that, but I actually also got a rendering done. So you can kind of see this was an additional $30 on Fiverr, but I want you to see the level of kind of the quality that you can actually get working on Fiverr. This is not a Fiverr ad, but do I have a link? I'll leave a link in the description for you. It's an affiliate, not a sponsorship. But, it's pretty good. And so it goes to show you that if you want to do something, a lot of people get caught up in this whole like, oh, I'm not good at designing. I don't know what to do, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, you don't have to be good at designing. You just have to hire someone that's really, really good at designing. So this is really probably the best $80 that I've ever spent. And here's where it starts to get really, really interesting on this particular property. I talked to my contractor about this, and I was hoping that I could build this setup for $75,000 or so, and he sent me to his pool guy, and basically I guess the quote for this property is going to be about $100,000 to get that backyard done. Now, a lot of people would say, well, dang, man, you're dumb. That's a $165,000 house, and you want to spend $100,000 on the backyard? What's the ROI? Blah, 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 blah. Right? All right. I want you to think about it from my perspective. I'm going to math some things out to kind of show you why it could be worth it. And I'm not saying you should do this. I'm just saying I'm going to do this because I very much recognize that I have the power and the platform to try things that I can then report back to you and say, hey, I tried this. It works. Consider it. But what I don't say is go do this without trying stuff myself, which is why I talked about my blue house last week. I'm spending, $70,000 on this little janky house to completely redo the design with Funkit Interiors, my Airbnb interior design company. And it's because I want to test my own product first on a small house where the data doesn't really back it up. But I believe that good design will trump it. So I'm going to try it. And it's the same thing here. Now, granted, this house is worth more than $165,000. That's just what it was when I built it. Now it's in the 200s these days, maybe a little bit more. But when you look at the actual ROI here, there's a little bit of method to the madness. So I'm all in $0. I got all my money back out on the cash out refi. So right now I make, if you factor in cleaning fees and everything, I'll just say what I had on Guesty here, $40,000. Okay, that's what it shows. This backyard is going to cost me $100,000. All right. And if this goes according to plan, and if this matches the data that AirDNA has for me, I will go from making $40,000 a year to $100,000 a year, which is a delta, an extra profit of $60,000 a year. Now, granted, some expenses will go up, but not that much. Not that much that it wouldn't be worth to do this. So if I can invest $100,000 and make an extra $60,000, then that means my ROI on this investment is 60%. Now, you can say, well, why wouldn't you go invest that and buy another property? Well, I could spend $100K on a different property and make hopefully $15,000 a year in profit. and make a 15% cash on cash return / ROI, or I could spend $100K in my backyard, increase revenue $60,000, increase profitability $60,000, and have a slam dunk investment. So that's what I'm weighing out right now. And I'm a big believer that after looking at the data, that's what I have to do to turn this tiny house around. Now, some would say it's not really a failed experiment because I built this tiny house, I got all my money back, and it's a free house. And so even if I make $1, that's not a failed experiment. But to me, the fact that I made $78,000, then 55, then 40, I don't see that as a failure per se, but I don't like it. I don't know. I guess I kind of do. I might be a little hard on myself here, but I don't like it. And so my question to myself is, can I get back to those glory days of $78,000? Because even if I could, even if that's where I went back to, that would be an extra $38,000 in profit on a $100,000 investment. I would have a 38% return on that property. And we actually get a little bit more into the emotional, sentimental reason as to why I'm even putting this much effort into it. Because if I was just looking at this as a real estate investment, I would take my $1,000 of cash flow and be done with it. However, I built this for my parents and I give them all the profits from this house, and I love wiring them money. I sent my mom $2,500 like a month or two ago. And I do that every time I have profits. I send them all the money. And I built it so that they could retire, and they did retire. Not because of this, but it was retirement time. But they immigrated here from Mexico, and they gave me a life that I'm super, super thankful for. And so I just want to give back in any way that I can. And so I'm like, all right, if I can get this to 100K, that basically means that I can wire my mom and dad like $7,000 a month. And that to me is why I'm putting so much effort into revitalizing this specific property versus, you know, making my little bit of money here, sending it to them and just being done with it. I want this to be something that my parents can truly live off of. And so I'm really turning over all the stones here to kind of figure out what is the best route for this particular property and this market. So that kind of leads me to where I'm moving in the Joshua Tree market and why I'm doing so. So, you know, several years ago, over the past couple of years, I've actually been picking up a ton of builds, and I had a lot of things permitted, and I kind of pulled the plug on a lot of them, mostly because A, I was really busy, B, I wasn't a huge fan of the Joshua Tree market. I was kind of buying into this Airbnb bust, oversaturation, which oversaturation, you can definitely say that there's some oversaturation there, but only for like the mediocre places. The mega high-end premium places, there is no oversaturation. And so what I've done is I've decided to pick up all of my projects. Actually, I can share here with you and show you exactly like the different projects that I'm working on these days. But I've got like 4 houses that I'm basically working on right now. And I've shown a few of these on the channel, and you might be like, whoa, you never built that? And it's like, I did not. So I'm gonna hit record here. Check this out. So I got this one, I call this La Punta. This house, again, when I was designing it, I did not think about the backyard. I was just going to build a dope house and have a dirt backyard. And now I'm like, okay, now I know the blueprint for how this house can make $200,000 a year. I feel pretty good in that assessment. As a matter of fact, it could possibly do $225,000 a year. I'm also repicking up these builds. These are a lot more kind of conceptual. This is a 4-bedroom, 3-bath, and then a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, I think. We are actually no longer going to build this big one. We're just going to build this little ADU right here, which you can see it's this green one and this pink one. So we're just carrying forward with that. That's a 2-2. And we will have a pool, and I will definitely make sure to have a pickleball court, all that good stuff. But I have actually never seen anything like this in Joshua Tree. So I'm actually really excited to bring something that has never been seen in that market before. Not like this anyways. And then I've got the house that I've actually been, working through with Shelby Church too. That one actually was put on pause for more so permitting reasons, but we've been chatting, and you can kind of see the B-roll here. It's an amazing house. I don't think there is a house that looks like this in Joshua Tree at all. And so for that reason, I'm really, really excited. And based on comps and people that I've talked to in the area, we believe that house could do anywhere from $250,000 to $275,000 a year, which would be absolutely bananas. So I actually, and then I've got another property out there that I'm building that I've never actually talked about on the channel. But let's see, that would be Clint, me and Tommy, me and Johnny, me and Ryan. Yeah, okay, that would be 4 different builds that I'm doing, plus the pool build that I'm doing. So 5 big projects that I'm actually doing in Joshua Tree again. So I left the market, but like the prodigal son, I have returned, and now I'm actually kind of bullish. So the last thing I want to leave you with here before we leave, I'm sorry for my ramblings. I know I kind of go everywhere, but I get really excited talking about this stuff. Can you tell? Can you tell that I like talking about Airbnb? Who is the Joshua Tree market right for? We should talk about that, because what happens is I talk about my successes on YouTube, and then a lot of people want to replicate my successes. And then it kind of like, there's not enough context. I don't know, sometimes in my videos for you to just go out and replicate exactly what I did. So I want to give you as much context as the play-by-play or the blueprint in Joshua Tree. I think the time of buying a bungalow or a ranch-style home and remodeling it and painting it white and having stained concrete floors with like boho chic interior design, I think that time is over. And if you're hurting in Joshua Tree, or if you've ever heard anyone talk about how they're hurting in Joshua Tree, it's probably because their house looks like that. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with that house. It just means that's not the style that people are looking for in Joshua Tree. People are looking for nice, new construction with premium white stucco walls. But more than that, they're looking for an exceptional backyard. I'm talking pool, integrated hot tub, if you can, in-ground fire pit, gravel, no dirt. Backyards like I showed you that will cost you $100,000. Now, do you have to do exactly what I showed you? No. Can you do a scaled back version of it? Of course. But overall, I think if you're trying to cheap into the Joshua Tree market, you will be pushed out so fast and you won't make the money that you wish that you were making. So the person that this market, in my opinion, is right for is someone that's really going to put the time, care, money, and investment into creating an experience in the backyard so that people have something to do when they're outside. That's my opinion. I would actually love to be wrong about this. If you're a Joshua Tree Airbnb owner, short-term rental owner, and you're having great success and there's something that I missed or something that I miscommunicated, please leave me your comments in the leave me your comments down below. I'll respond to them if there's something that I totally missed, but I've just talked, everything I knew up until now was anecdotally, and then I just started going out and searching and talking to all of the different people in the market that are making 6 figures a year. And what I have found out is it's the premium outdoor spaces that are winning. And if you don't have the budget for that, then I would look for a different market. Hopefully this has been helpful. Hopefully you appreciate the transparency. And if this was at all helpful, then please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. The more of you that do that, the more this video gets served. And if I can help people get into the right properties and get into the right markets and not lose money, that's my mission. The last thing I'm going to say here is that HostCon, my short-term rental conference, is happening August 29th through the 31st. You can officially get tickets at www.hostcon.com. I've got an insane speaker lineup: Cody Sanchez, Tarek El Moussa, Levi Kelly, the second best Airbnb YouTuber in the world. Just kidding. He's much cooler than me. But I've got such an amazing lineup. It is a opportunity for you to get in the room with 500 other short-term rental investors that all want to do what you do, which is build financial freedom through short-term rentals. And depending on when you're watching this, you get a 60% discount on tickets with the promo code on the website at this time. So now would be the time to get them. Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Love you guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Catch you on the next episode of Robuilt. Bye.